The religious really are clueless, aren't they? Today's video is going to prove that conclusively, but I don't know that we really need the help. This has been painfully obvious from time immemorial, but the religious don't seem to be able to understand because they don't want to. They just really want to believe. So let's watch some more defensive goalpost shifting because, hey, what else can we expect? So today we're going to take a look at a video from a channel called Lion of Fire Raw. And yes, the raw part is in all caps. He's going to tell us what to do next time someone says, "Don't force your beliefs on people." And he's going to miss the entire point, which is that his side is the problem. He'll never be able to accept that, of course, because he just doesn't care, but he should. He's the asshole here. And fair warning, there's going to be plenty of profanity in this video, just so you know. I mean, adults can handle it. Children probably can't. Just saying. So anyway, let's get into it.
Have you ever heard people say that you shouldn't force your Christian beliefs on anyone? Maybe people have even said that to you.
And you shouldn't. That goes for Muslim beliefs and Hindu beliefs and, let's be honest, any beliefs. It's fine to talk about it when the other party is interested, but to continually try to force it on people who have zero interest in your silly ideas is just laughable. Knock it off. Granted, I don't think he's going to understand the problem or, let's be honest, care, because they just want to believe and they want to think that everybody is just like they are. Granted, they think they're trying to help you, but we don't want their help, do we? It's only help if it's welcome, if it's voluntary, if we accept it. It's only help if it's actually, helpful. And we get to determine that, not them. So I think we're going to seriously disagree over the usefulness of this entire exercise, but hey, let's see.
In this video, I want to expose something in that statement that you might not have ever thought about before, that the person saying it might not have ever thought about it before. And then I want to tell you what you can say in response if someone says that to you.
I don't care. I really don't. Take your beliefs and shove them where the sun don't shine. I am not interested, at least not until you can present evidence that anything you're saying is remotely true. And that goes for everyone before you start. I don't care where your beliefs are coming from if you can't defend them rationally and evidentially. Anyone who believes a thing without corroboratory evidence can keep that thing to themselves as far as I'm concerned. In fact, you shouldn't believe it either, but I'm not going to try to force that on you because we lack the necessary magical brain-changing technology that would be necessary to do it against your will. And honestly, I wouldn't even try because that would be evil. I'm not trying to make everybody just like me. That's what you're doing. Don't do that. So anyway, get on with it. I bet this is just going to be self-serving.
It's very interesting. So let's break this down. So what do you think about the statement, you shouldn't force your Christian beliefs on other people? Do you agree with it?
Absolutely. Like I said, I kind of knew this was coming and I already covered all of this a few seconds ago. I know I probably ought to wait for the dumb to respond to it, but it's hard to do when you've seen it all a million times before. Nobody should try to force anything on anyone, Christian or otherwise. Keep it to yourself until somebody asks you about it or volunteers to be inundated with your crap. Then the floor is yours. If someone makes a request of you, then go ahead, knock yourself out. Hell, wear a t-shirt that says, "Ask me about my Christian beliefs." And if anyone cares, they can ask. I wouldn't. But I wouldn't be asking either. I'm too busy living life to worry about you and your delusions. However, I bet the religious would never go for anything like that, would they? Because they want to be able to push their stupid beliefs on other people. And fuck them. They'd never have another conversation about their faith again if they had to make sure it was voluntary and consensual, which is why they don't give a shit about that.
I agree with it. I don't think we should force our Christian beliefs on anyone. If someone doesn't want to hear what we have to say, then we don't force that on the person. But I think the person that's saying this actually means something very different than you shouldn't force your beliefs on someone else, but rather you shouldn't even communicate your beliefs to someone else.
Not without their consent, no. Now, I wouldn't even have a problem with them walking up to you and saying, "Do you want to talk to me about God?" Leave it up to the other person. If the other person says yes, then fine, you have your consent, do your thing. If they say no, then go pound sand. Consent matters. But like I said, they'd never go for that because they know what a losing proposition it would be. They'd rarely get any takers, and that would hurt their precious widow fifis, and they don't want that.
First you trade the Cadillac for a microphone. Then you lie to me about the band. Now you're gonna put me right back in the joint.
They're not gonna catch us. We're on a mission from God.
They're on a mission from God, or so they think. They're not at all interested in being polite or courteous or caring about other people's feelings. They just want to make everybody just like they are. Well, screw them.
You shouldn't speak about the things that you believe in your Christian faith. You should keep your beliefs to yourself, and you should leave that other person to their own beliefs. That's really what they're saying.
Yes, we are, and we'll return the favor. I'm not the one knocking on random doors on Sunday morning talking about the good news of atheism, am I? I'm not the one with the soapbox in the park or on the college campus screaming incoherently with a megaphone. You don't see atheist politicians pontificating on atheism from the stage. No, we keep it to ourselves unless A, we're backed into the corner by you idiots and specifically asked about our views, or B, we have to do it in self-defense to shut you fucks up. We are practicing what we preach. How about you give it a try?
Now, do I agree with that statement? Of course not. We exchange ideas all the time. It's one of the blessings in this free society. We can converse with one another freely and openly. It's a really beautiful thing.
And voluntarily. That seems to be the part that you're missing. That's the force part that we are objecting to. If you would make it all entirely voluntary, I doubt anyone would care. But you don't. Now, I've told this story before, but I think it illustrates this perfectly. Many, many years ago, I had a man and a woman come to my door, and the man insisted on talking to me about Jesus. I was busy. I might not have complained otherwise, but I was in the middle of stuff, so I politely said, "No thank you, not interested," and tried to go on with my day. Instead, he got really belligerent and stuck his foot in my door and said, "You're not going to close your door on Jesus." That was the wrong thing to say, and I went off on his ass. The whole time, this woman is pulling at his arm going, let's go, because I think even she knew that he was being an asshole. But he got what he deserved. Now, you can say that guy was just a dick, and he was, but there are an awful lot of religious dicks out there, and that's what people really complain about. Maybe if the religious learned that they had to take no for an answer, they wouldn't have such a hard time. Either way, the problem is on your side. It's not on ours.
But at the same time, if someone doesn't want to hear what we have to say, we have to be discerning to recognize that. And if someone doesn't want to hear what we have to say, then we stop talking to them about it.
And if you would all just do that consistently, most people wouldn't complain. I wouldn't have people randomly trying to talk to me about Jesus in the checkout line at the grocery store where I'm a captive audience. Granted, that hasn't happened for a long time now, which is good, but I got really close to punching some bitches in the face once upon a time because they wouldn't shut their fucking yaps. These are people who think it's their God-given right to blather on about their beliefs to people who don't want to listen. And seriously, if you want to bring it up and allow somebody to say no thank you, and then you just apologize and go the hell away when people say they're not interested, I would be fine with that. Let us know when all theists everywhere agree to follow those rules. Because until then, the problem remains.
But a lot of the times people do enjoy engaging in that conversation, and there's nothing that should stop us from doing it. Now, it's really interesting here because the Christian isn't forcing their beliefs on anyone, like I said. They're just communicating what they believe in. They're telling other people what they believe in, and then the person is free to do whatever they want with that.
Do you honestly think that people don't know anything about Christianity? That's a question that I always have for these people. I get that you want to share your own personal faith or whatever, but do you honestly think that people don't already know? Are you really that stupid? You don't have to answer that because we already know. What are you sharing? Nothing at all. You're just pestering people with your silly beliefs, and I object to you doing that, especially to me. Like I said, if you had asked first and then walked away when we said no, I probably wouldn't complain. But most of them refuse to do that. Most of them launch into their apologetic bullshit no matter what anyone says. They are out trying to save our non-existent souls with their ridiculous faith-based nonsense, and we don't care. I'm sorry, but we already know all about it. We probably know it better than you do. We just aren't interested. We think you're a bunch of idiots. And it's one thing to be an idiot and know how to keep your mouth shut, and it's entirely another to be an idiot and refuse to shut up and prove it for all the world to see. Those are the ones that we object to the most. Deal with the problems on your side first. Then maybe we'll stop being so upset about it.
They can either accept it or reject it. That's up to them.
Unless the theist is a fanatic, then they're just not going to take no for an answer, and I've had that happen on many occasions. It's like they take personal offense to the fact that you don't have any interest in their faith. They just get mad because you don't believe the same things they do. This is really the problem with wanting everyone to be just like you are. First off, it's not for the other person, it's for you. They're only doing this to make themselves feel better. They don't give shit one about you. They are being emotionally comforted by being surrounded by only the faithful. Screw you. Your comfort means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean that you get to force your nonsense into my life against my will. Secondly, we have good reasons not to want to be like you. Because we think you're idiots. You have embarrassed yourselves in public, and doing this over and over to people who don't want to listen, that's not going to change that fact any. In fact, it only makes things worse. I just had someone on Reddit say, well, I only talk about my God when somebody asks me to. Great. And who asked you to come into our subreddit and spew your God-bothering nonsense all over the place? Link to the person who asked you to do that. Go ahead. Because these people, they're not serious. They aren't only doing it by request. They're doing it because they're assholes. Maybe they're well-intentioned assholes, but they're assholes nonetheless. Maybe, just maybe, don't do that. You are not helping your case. You're just proving that we were right about you all along.
But what's really interesting about the person that's telling you that you shouldn't force your Christian beliefs on other people is that, number one, they're not recognizing that you're not forcing your beliefs on anyone. You're just communicating your beliefs just like anyone else would.
Against the will of the person that you're just spewing them at. You are not going to be able to get around that no matter how hard you try. I mean, there are places where you can sign up online to receive a free Bible, almost always with an asshole attached to it to waste your time. If it was only like that, where you didn't hear about Christianity or any other religion unless you agreed to it first, I wouldn't complain. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses do that, or at least they used to, but they still show up at random at your door whether you've made that request or not. They aren't concerned about your desires. They're just prioritizing the people they think they can scam the easiest first. They'll get to you eventually unless you scare them away, and it's honestly really not that hard. All you have to do is know more about their religion than the kids they send out as slaves to your door to prove that you can debunk their claims. They have to go back and report on every single interaction, and the church elders don't want you going back to houses that they think are going to be a problem. So you get on their blacklist really fast, and that's a good thing. They don't want their door knockers deconverted. That's how they bring in new converts after all, so no, that is not how anyone religious works. You get the Greg Kukels of the world actively training gullible fools to go out and try to save souls for Christ. For $1. It's always for $1. It's not voluntary. It's a scam.
And number 2, that they are actually sharing their beliefs with you at the same time.
How are they doing that? I mean, really, please explain. Because saying, no, leave me alone, isn't sharing anything except a disagreement with what you are doing. It's saying, I don't care about your crap. Leave me alone. How hard is that? There are many times when I have said, no thank you, like in the example I gave earlier, and still I've been harassed by these religious fucknuts. I didn't share anything. I didn't say I was an atheist. I didn't say anything except those 3 words. What the hell do you think I'm sharing? How am I doing anything except asking to be left alone? This guy is an idiot.
They're sharing their belief with you that you shouldn't share your Christian belief with other people.
Go fuck yourself. This is just stupid. I am telling you in no uncertain terms that I don't care about you or your fucking bullshit. Take a long walk off a short pier. If you can find somebody else who's willing to talk to you, go ahead. No harm, no foul. That's the operative part, though. They have to be willing to volunteer to spend their time talking to you about your religion. You can't just chase after them. And yes, that's happened to me before too, where I'll say no and just keep on walking. And they'll just follow me and just talk as if I care what they're saying. Like I said, assholes. And even if this guy might disagree that it happens, it still happens, doesn't it? I've had crap left on my car in the parking lot of a store. I get garbage left at my front door all the time, mostly by people who are just too terrified to knock. As most know, I have a sign at the door that says, go the hell away. I don't want to talk about your religion or politics. I don't want you to try to sell me anything. I want to be left alone. Fuck you. But they still leave all their crap all over the place, don't they? This is forcing their religion on others without their consent, even if they're too chicken shit to do it on their own face to face. And a lot of them just ignore the sign and figure, well, what the hell? It doesn't apply to me if I'm doing the work of God. These people are just morons.
So it's so ironic. They're doing exactly what they're telling you not to do. The only reason they're saying don't share your Christian beliefs is because they don't agree with what you believe.
No, because we don't want to be harassed. And I would say this about people trying to push their politics too. Fuck you. Go away. I am not interested. I'm not going to vote for your silly initiative. I'm not going to sign your petition. If you want to make a place where I can voluntarily go and look if I want to, fine. Go ahead and do that. I will decide whether I care enough to do so. I don't need you at my door. I don't need you screaming at me from a card table in front of the grocery store. I don't need you at all. Go away and leave me alone. I have a right to my privacy. Deal with it and leave me alone. I'm not bothering you at your door. I'm not ringing your bell. I'm not doing shit that bothers you. I'm leaving you alone. Reciprocate. I am not ringing stupid church bells on Sunday to wake you up. Well, that doesn't happen a lot these days. I think most places have noise control laws that apply to the churches, so they don't get to ring their bells anymore. But it sure the hell used to be a problem, didn't it? I am not intruding on your life without prior authorization from you. This is why this guy is such a moron. He can't comprehend what his side is doing wrong. Fuck off.
They might say, well, I don't think it leads to good things if people believe in this, to which you can easily just say, well, I don't believe that your beliefs lead to good things.
Don't care. My doorstep, not yours. You do not have a right to harass me against my will. Take your beliefs and shove them where the sun don't shine. Fuck off. It's not that hard. Like I said, I'm not telling you that you can't do it with people who are willing to talk to you. Go ahead. I don't care. I am just not one of those people. I'm just saying that for the vast majority who don't want to hear it, you need to shut your fucking mouth and leave them alone. Consent matters. Figure it out. And no, this guy, he might not personally be an asshole. Fine, whatever, I don't care. Tons of them are, though, and that colors the impression of all of them. You've got to learn to deal with that. You are playing for an asshole team. Maybe go after all the people who are making a pest of themselves first and tell them to shut the fuck up. Don't complain about us until you fix your own side. We're not the ones doing anything wrong. You are.
And it can just go around in circles. But the one thing that you should say to someone, and not in a condescending way, not as a gotcha moment sort of thing, the one thing that you should say to someone in this situation, if they say, you shouldn't force your beliefs on other people, just say to them, why are you doing that to me right now then?
They aren't. You're just being a jackass. Of course, he's just looking for a way that he can just keep on going without having to worry about things like consent. If he'd just say, oops, sorry for bothering you, and just walked away, nobody would complain. Instead, he doesn't understand what the hell he's doing wrong. He's a prick. That's the problem. These people are just pricks. They think everybody else ought to want to be just like they are, and we don't. I don't want to be a Christian, at least until they have some verifiable objective evidence that Christianity's actually factually true. And I also don't want to be a Muslim for the same reason. I don't want to be a Hindu. I just want to be left alone. I'm happy the way that I am. I don't need you and your bullshit. This really isn't that hard to understand, but people like this jackass, they can't figure that out for themselves. So they just keep pushing their luck. No, go away. Go fuck yourself. You are the problem, not us. Figure it out.
And they might stop and they might be confused, but when they actually consider that, the only response that any honest person can give is to just recognize, yeah, I'm contradicting myself here.
No, they're not. They're telling you to pound sand. They're telling you to stop being an asshole. That is exactly what you're doing. Being an asshole. Stop it. Now, granted, they won't. They can't. It's kind of baked into their theology. They have a great commission to go out and convert the world, whether the world wants it or not. That might have worked back in the old days when Christianity had political and social power, but it sure the hell doesn't work today, does it? It's time for you to grow up and deal with the reality that you actually live in. Of course, if they could do that, they wouldn't be Christians to begin with, would they? So they're problems no matter how you look at it. Sad, right?
But that's the reality when you have a worldview that has no foundation. Your logic, your arguments, your reasoning is going to be a contradiction.
Looking in the mirror again, I see. because this could have been a decent video if he just acknowledged the Christians are assholes, or at least some of them are, and that they should just leave the disinterested alone and go after more willing prey. But he can't do that because he's running out of willing prey. So he has to keep making excuses for why continuing to be an asshole is A-okay, and in fact, it's the fault of anyone who doesn't want to hear it, because obviously it can't be his fault, can it? That would make him sad. This guy is a complete wingnut, and he's just continuing to make Christianity look bad. Honestly, listening to Christians is the best way to conclude that Christianity is shit. They don't really need any more help than that. It kind of is shit, but, these people need to stop helping it along. Fuck you all. Go the hell away.
And it's going to come from an emotional place of personal preference. And people are going to do the very thing that they don't want you to do.
Bald rationalization much? Because everything you're doing is emotional and you don't care about anyone else. You're only doing this for your own emotional comfort. People have a right not to be bothered with your ludicrous bullshit. We have a right not to hear you preach, especially on our own property. Rent a fucking clue. Of course, they can't do that because that goes against their entire theology, and that can't ever be permitted to happen. But these are not rational people. These are morons. These people are just embarrassing themselves. Screw them. Things are going to get a whole lot harder from here out as Christianity completely falls apart in the Western world. And I can't wait to see just how they fare when the non-religious outnumber the religious, and that's coming up real quick. These smug fuckers are going to get punched in the face. Sort of. I'm not proposing violence or anything. And the worst of them are certainly going to deserve it. They have brought it on themselves with their actions. Maybe stop telling them to be assholes. That could help.
It's crazy. But like I said, it's not a gotcha question or anything like that. It's just to ironically point out to someone that, look, there's two standards going on here, and you can just be very nice about it and even joking about it.
You're just projecting. The problem is you. If you would just leave the people alone who don't want to be bothered, you wouldn't have these problems. And I say that about a lot of people. Seriously, if you bang on somebody's door trying to sell something and they tell you no, don't argue with them. Holy shit, are you really that stupid? Of course they are, or they wouldn't be doing that job. The smart ones are the ones back in the office in air conditioning, waiting for you lunatics to show up with money in hand. It's no wonder why you people are out there in the first place, because you're dumb. Don't be dumb. Don't argue with people. Just take no as an answer and go the fuck away. You're wasting your time trying to argue with somebody who isn't remotely interested in whatever you're trying to sell. You failed. Move on. Stop harassing people. It's really not that hard. Anyway, that's the end of the video. We're close enough. There's a couple more seconds, but there's nothing of substance there, so we're just gonna stop. What did you think? Do you think any of them have any good points, or is it all just a complete waste of time? I wouldn't say if these people would just drop their holier-than-thou act, but they can't. Nobody cares about your imaginary friends and your delusions. You are the last generation where a majority of people are going to take any of this seriously. And right now, a lot of them probably don't as it is. We just have to go by what they say, but most of them probably don't really believe this shit. Welcome to the real world. Of course, they don't want to live in the real world, do they? Which is why this prick is projecting all of his failures onto other people. This guy is a complete jackass. And you can tell that just by looking at his smug face. That's going to get him punched one of these days, and then he'll just blame other people instead of realizing that he did it to himself. Because these people are really stupid and they can't figure out what they're doing wrong. They are their own worst enemies. These are the people with the problems. not us. It's not our fault that they're assholes. It's theirs. Too bad they'll never rent a clue and figure it out.